Hello and welcome to the Spiritually Incorrect podcast with me, your host, Shiv Sengupta. I'm the author of the Advaitaholics Anonymous series, Sobering Insights for Spiritual Addicts, a manifesto for spiritual anarchy, and my latest book that was recently published, An Antidote to Spiritual Enlightenment. Today I want to read a chapter from Volume 2 of the Advaitaholics Anonymous series, titled A Manifesto for Spiritual Anarchy. And I'm going to read Chapter 7, titled Nothing is Past. To have an identity is to have a past. No past, no story. No story, no character. The past is what provides a context for your identity. Everyone has a past. And most people believe in their pasts. And that is what gives the identity its sense of concreteness. That is what makes the character seem real. Now, I'm not going to sit here telling you that the past is irrelevant, something to be completely ignored and discarded. It certainly has its relevance in the whole human experience. But what most people don't realize and almost never question is whether the past is true. I'm not questioning the factual events of your life, whether you were born on so-and-so date or whether a meteor struck your home in the summer of so-and-so year. As far as I'm concerned, that is your history, not your past. A history is a chronological record of factual events that are independently verifiable and emotionally unbiased. But when we talk about the past, I am referring to your subjective experience and recollection of it. Your narrative, your story, how you have chosen to interpret the events of your life, what you have chosen to focus on, and what you have chosen to edit. What theme have you selected? What genre does it fall into? Is this a hero's journey, a heartwarmer, a rom-com, a dark and depressing tale, a drama, a suspense, or an all-out horror? Very few people regard their pasts in purely historical terms, because to do so would be to take the emotional element out of it altogether. We want the past to be emotional. We want it to mean something. This was how I functioned for a large portion of my life. Having had a turbulent childhood, I grew up angry and resentful towards the world and other people. Mostly, I was angry and resentful towards myself. My past played a key role in how I viewed myself. I thought of myself as emotionally unstable, psychologically broken, socially maladapted, incompetent, and unworthy. And my rationale for being this way was because of what I had endured growing up. I blamed everyone, my parents, my relatives, my society for what was done to me. And I hated myself for the delinquent I had turned into as a result of it. I felt powerless to change because I was defined by all that had happened to me. The past had molded me. How could I change my circumstances unless I could change the past? I tried, of course. I demanded justice, remorse, and special treatment from the people who had let me down. I held the world in contempt for turning its back on me, instead of recognizing me for my talents and rewarding me accordingly. I harbored an incredible sense of entitlement everywhere I went, as if the world owed me something in return for the childhood I had been denied. In every relationship I entered, I demanded to be loved and attended to on my own terms, as if it were somehow my partner's responsibility to set right the wrongs of my past. Of course, none of this helped alleviate my pain. It simply exacerbated it. My belief in my own trauma created more trauma. Suffering was the theme I had picked for my narrative. Dark and depressing was the genre. And like a good protagonist, I was playing the role to absolute perfection. The brooding, melancholic, cynical anti-hero. Except to me, it wasn't a story. It was reality. And there was a part of me that wanted to take a flamethrower to the world and watch it burn. But I still loved the world too much for that. So in the end, taking my own life seemed the nobler option. What better way to go than my literary ideal, Hemingway? A bullet to the brain together with some profoundly philosophical note left behind for others to deeply contemplate and eventually repent. If not in life, then perhaps in death, my salvation would be sealed, and the record on Shiv's life finally set straight. Oh, how wrong we were about him, how we wish we had seen him for the great and noble soul he was. Alas, too late have we realized the error of our ways. Let us never forget the saint that he was. Wildly delusional and on the verge of total collapse, unexpectedly, something happened. Sitting by the lake one day in abject despair, ready to be consumed by it, my thinking brain suddenly went into complete shutdown mode. And with it, the spontaneous view came to the forefront. I've spoken about this Satori in some detail in my first book. For 4 months afterwards, my past completely vanished from my memory, and with it, any sense of being the character I had been. As I observed myself, I saw no trace of pain, no suffering, no trauma. That heavy burden I had carried with me for my entire life was simply not there. I marveled at this. In the absence of the story, the suffering was also absent. Had it been the traumatic events that created the story of my life as I had once believed? Or was it the story that created my suffering? If the former were true, then in the absence of a story, the suffering, the trauma should still have remained in my system. But when I checked, there simply was no trace of it. And so I came to realize that in fact, the latter was the case. It is not the events of our lives, no matter how brutal, that cause us to suffer. Rather, it's the stories we create around those events that we do. Events are momentary, and thus the trauma that accompanies such an event is equally momentary. What converts that trauma into long-term suffering is the narrative we build out of it and the sense of identity we subsequently derive from it. Your history is nothing more than a series of milestones that have happened. They are dots in time that have no overarching pattern to them. But just like those join the dots activities you did as a kid, how you choose to join those historical dots and the shape that emerges as a result of it is what creates your past. You could join the dots and create something positive, or you could join them in such a way that the image that results is utterly horrifying. But joining the dots is an entirely subjective activity. Creating a past out of your history is an entirely optional choice. After 4 months of total inner silence, stillness, and lack of narrative, the urge to reinsert myself into the human drama returned. Yet I was forever changed, and I could never again confuse my character for who I am. A good writer can walk away when a story isn't going anywhere. Seeing that my life was nothing more than a story that I had invented, I also just walked away from that narrative altogether, quite effortlessly. I created a new narrative arc, one in which the world owes me nothing, where no one is to blame for anything in my life, where I am owed not one single ounce of recognition or love or attention more than anyone else. A world that I could neither destroy nor could destroy me. This was a narrative that I alone had the power to fashion. I was the only one who could be held responsible for such a narrative. Total freedom and total responsibility. For me, my past is my own unique brand of fiction. I love and live its narrative without believing it to be true. It is nothing more than an entertaining facade built from a series of mundane historical milestones. My identity is a mythological character whose life is lived in the minds of other people.